It was a normal morning on Fort Lauderdale Beach with activities going on as usual. But just a few minutes later, at 8 a.m., an emergency evacuation order blasted over loudspeakers, telling everyone to leave the area immediately, with no explanation. No tsunami, no storm, and definitely not a drill. In less than an hour, the entire coastline from Miami to Fort Lauderdale was completely shut down. The Department of Homeland Security issued only one statement: for national security reasons, this area will be closed indefinitely. On social media, a leaked video showed a strange object on the ocean floor, but just minutes later, it vanished from every platform. The government remained completely silent. Could something dangerous be lurking beneath the ocean? Something even the US government has never faced before? Let's dive deeper into what really happened in this video. In July 2025, Florida entered the peak of tourist season. The beaches of Miami and Fort Lauderdale were packed, hotels were fully booked, and the air buzzed with Wi-Fi signals from thousands of mobile devices. But after just one morning, that entire space suddenly fell into an unusually quiet stillness. At 9 a.m., the Department of Homeland Security issued an emergency lockdown order for the entire southeastern coastal area. No clear reason was given except for a phrase repeated over and over on loudspeakers: hazardous underwater magnetic disturbance. Within just an hour, waves of military vehicles, helicopters, and armed forces appeared. The beaches were cleared, civilians evacuated, and all civilian devices were blocked from access. Online, a leaked video from an amateur diver's camera made the situation even more chaotic. In the clip, a faint glowing metallic mass beneath the sea flickered between layers of sand. As the person filming approached it, the wrist-worn compass spun wildly out of control, and all depth-measuring devices simultaneously failed. According to a July 18th report from Florida Today, the video only lasted a few minutes before it was removed from social media platforms. Some users managed to download it and share it on Reddit, sparking a chain of unprecedented theories. Some believed it was a leaked prototype weapon. Others leaned toward the possibility that it was a relic from prehistoric times. But what alarmed everyone wasn't what lay beneath the surface of the ocean. It was the government's response: complete silence and absolute control, as if something was being hidden from the eyes of the entire world. So what exactly are they hiding down there? Get ready, because right now, we're going deeper than ever before. After the coastal area was locked down, a team of special operations divers was dispatched to the scene to survey the suspected zone. What seemed like a simple reconnaissance mission quickly turned into an emergency. In less than 15 minutes, the entire team was forced to surface. Communication signals were completely cut off, compasses spun uncontrollably, and depth sensors kept returning inaccurate readings. One team member described the feeling as swimming inside an inverted pocket of air, while their sonar radar registered an unprecedented level of magnetic interference radiating across the area. Right in the middle of those waters, they saw a vertical cylindrical metal mass standing about 6 meters tall and located less than 9 meters below the surface. The object's surface was perfectly smooth, reflecting a strange silver-blue sheen with no signs of corrosion from seawater. A source cited by the Miami Herald on July 19, 2025, stated that the outer layer had reflective properties similar to hardened liquid metal, but exhibited no vibration or movement of any kind. What truly baffled the scientists was the intricate pattern system covering the entire object. It wasn't a language, nor were they symbols from any known civilization. According to a confidential expert from the University of Florida, the markings might represent a form of geometric data encryption, simulating space-time structures in a way never before deciphered. Because of this, the research team had no choice but to halt all further analysis as they lacked any reference framework that could apply. Even more puzzling, marine biologists reported that within a 30-meter radius of the object, no living organisms were present. The area was in complete biological silence. According to an analysis from NOAA dated July 20th, The magnetic disturbance measured at the object's core was nearly 20 times higher than standard oceanic readings, a phenomenon highlighted by National Geographic Daily News in its Current Field Anomalies column. But the strangest part wasn't the structure, the material, or the electromagnetic field. It was the one question no one dared to answer. Why had such a massive metal object never been detected in all the decades of continuous surveying and exploitation of this region? Perhaps it only just appeared. Or worse, it had always been there, hidden until precisely this moment. Immediately after the underwater object was recorded, the US government swiftly carried out a series of actions that were considered unusual and extreme. First came the sudden disappearance of all public satellite data over the waters off Fort Lauderdale. On Google Earth, the entire area was blurred out, similar to how highly classified military bases are handled. At the same time, many digital nautical charts used by boats and civilian equipment suddenly glitched, unable to load location data. According to the Ocean Mapping Group Canada, Live Science, July 21, 2025, the interference zone expanded more than 10 nautical miles, severely affecting civilian GPS and other maritime navigation systems. At the same time, a team of scientists from NOAA and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution were also denied access to the site. An anonymous member told Vice News that they received a federal order forbidding any activity within a 5 nautical mile radius of the object's coordinates. This was an unprecedented move for a discovery that should have been purely scientific. On television, evening news programs showed no further footage from the site. Major networks like CBS, NBC, and Fox News repeatedly aired only one statement. Due to signs of a potential national security threat, the government is temporarily locking down the southeastern coastal region of Florida. No live images, no commentary, no on-site reporters. A source from the Coast Guard told The Intercept that at least 2 private research vessels attempted to approach the site but were intercepted. These vessels were ordered to shut down all broadcasting equipment and were shadowed by armed patrol ships until they retreated. This was no longer a safety precaution. It was absolute control. When every device is neutralized, every piece of data is blurred, and every approach is blocked, the biggest question starts to emerge. What exactly is lying beneath the ocean floor off Florida that the US government is trying so hard to hide? Could it be an ancient structure never before known to humanity? Or is it a prehistoric secret so powerful it could overturn everything we think we know? We still have no answer. But it is the silence itself, thorough and absolute, that chills us the most. After 2 days of complete lockdown, something unexpected happened. A covert team of engineers from DARPA was dispatched to the site with one mission: get closer to the object. They deployed a state-of-the-art ROV, a remotely operated vehicle, into the murky waters near Fort Lauderdale. The goal was simple: collect readings, capture imagery, and analyze the outer structure. But the ocean had other plans. Just 90 seconds after the ROV crossed into the outermost edge of the object's location, everything went dark. The live video feed froze. The control system shut down. The signal disappeared completely. The vehicle drifted helplessly into what the team later called a digital dead zone, as if the machine had been swallowed by a blind spot in reality itself. That moment changed everything. The team was forced to pivot. Physical access was no longer an option, so they turned to a different method: oscillation scanning. Using next-generation sensors capable of detecting subtle shifts in vibrational energy, they began scanning the area remotely. What they found defied all expectations. The object was emitting pulses. Not random noise, not natural tremors, but rhythmic, perfectly timed vibrations. According to a report published on July 22 by Scientific American Weekly, The frequencies hovered between 7.3 and 7.6 Hz. That's not just any frequency. It directly matches the range of alpha waves in the human brain, the same waves that appear when a person is meditating, dreaming, or entering deep states of subconscious awareness. This was no coincidence. Some experts began to propose a chilling hypothesis. The object might be aware, not alive in the biological sense, but active, observing, learning. One specialist from MIT suggested that the object's interior could be housing a type of computation we've never seen before, not based on electricity or binary code, but on something more primitive or more advanced, a network of vibrations, or maybe even gravitational feedback loops, a kind of intelligence that doesn't speak in words, but in resonance. Then came the human effects. 3 residents living just outside the restricted zone reported strange phenomena. They couldn't sleep. They experienced repeating dreams of glowing metallic spirals and heard odd, low-frequency hums during the night. The timing? It matched exactly with when the object's oscillation intensity began to spike. Scientists haven't officially confirmed the connection, but the implications are hard to ignore. If this thing can generate pulses, mimic brainwave patterns, and cause psychological reactions in people miles away, then maybe it never truly slept. It was just lying in wait, observing, listening, measuring units. And now it may have finally decided to wake up. The real question is, what happens next? Just a few hours after the information about the mysterious object off the coast of Florida was leaked, a series of strange phenomena began to spread across various parts of the world. On the morning of July 20th, 3 humpback whales simultaneously stranded themselves in waters less than 50 nautical miles from Miami. There were no signs of injury on their bodies, and according to the MoMA organization, such an event is extremely rare during the summer. At the same time, thousands of migratory birds flew off course, with many flocks turning back toward Canada, something that hasn't happened in recent years. In Vero Beach, locals reported hearing a strange sound, like metallic echoes resonating from the depths of the sea, echoing through the night for several days. The earthsky.org website recorded this sound frequency as lasting steadily for about 40 seconds per cycle, closely resembling the bloop, a controversial phenomenon in scientific circles. What's striking is that this frequency suspiciously matched the oscillations detected near the object under the seabed of Fort Lauderdale just a few days prior. But the event that baffled scientists the most occurred on the night of July 21st, when an aurora, normally only visible near the North Pole, suddenly appeared over the skies of Florida. The lights shimmered in pale green and violet hues, twisting like living plasma. CNN confirmed that this was the first time such an event had occurred at such a low latitude, and surprisingly, there was no significant solar activity at that time. Meteorological experts were unable to explain it, as it defied all known scientific principles. As science failed to provide answers, religious communities began to weigh in. In Jerusalem, a group of Kabbalah rabbis claimed that the symbols etched on the object resembled the characters in the ancient Zohar text, the foundational scripture of Jewish mysticism, by up to 90%. In India, Hindu scholars in Benares suggested that the object's structure resembled the linga symbol representing the god Shiva, which is closely associated with the cycle of rebirth. Meanwhile, in Qatar, an Islamic researcher from Al Jazeera University found similar markings in an ancient Abbasid manuscript, describing a messenger of light who would appear when humanity is on the verge of transformation. These strange coincidences across seemingly unrelated cultures began to draw global attention. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Although the contents of the meeting were not made public, major outlets such as Reuters and Al Jazeera English confirmed that the object off the coast of Florida was part of the agenda. This marked the first time since the Chelyabinsk meteor incident in 2013 that a natural phenomenon had raised such concern on a global scale. All the signs were painting a picture no one expected. For some, this was Earth sending a message. For others, it was a signal from a higher being. But whatever it may be, the object beneath the sea was no longer just an inanimate piece of metal. It may well be a warning, or perhaps an invitation from something humanity has never been ready to understand. Don't look away. What's about to be revealed may change everything we thought we knew. While the US government remained in complete silence, a wave of information leaks began spreading across independent scientific circles. According to the Atlantic Archives on July 24, 2025, a group of molecular biologists uncovered something deeply unsettling. The vibrational frequency emitted by the underwater object closely matched the sensitivity band of human stem cells. This frequency wasn't random. It fell within the narrow window that influences cell differentiation, regeneration, and, in rare cases, DNA mutation. The implication? The object might be capable of triggering molecular responses in human biology, possibly even rewriting the evolutionary script. But that was only the beginning. A separate leak surfaced on the cybersecurity forum Zero Intel, revealing details of a classified military project known as Echo Core. The files, allegedly sourced from the Department of Defense, described an AI program modeled on nonlinear geometric logic, a system believed to mirror the strange glyphs carved into the object's surface. According to the documents, the project's core hypothesis was that these glyphs were not symbols or text, but dynamic thought structures, an alien form of logic that didn't transmit meaning, but processed awareness. A kind of code not meant to be read but felt, interpreted not with the eyes but with the brain itself. If true, this meant the object was more than a machine. It was a cognitive template, a mirror of intelligence, and it might have been waiting for the human mind to align with it, like tuning forks resonating at just the right frequency. Those signs of synchronization soon began appearing in the real world. Over 24 residents living near the beach reported vivid, identical dreams. They described a glowing metallic spiral, constantly rotating, drawing their gaze inward into a central void that felt alive. The dream recurred night after night. What made it even stranger was the uniformity. Young or old, skeptic or spiritual, their descriptions matched perfectly. Some believed they were being called. Others felt it was a test or a warning. The University of Central Florida launched an emergency study conducting EEG brain scans on a sample group of affected individuals. The internal report, leaked 2 days later, revealed synchronized alpha wave bursts across multiple subjects, flashing in rhythm with the object's known oscillation pattern. One neuroscientist labeled the phenomenon collective cognitive entrainment. Another went further, calling it a transmission event. But perhaps the most chilling interpretation came from scientific philosopher Dr. Elias Monroe. In a widely shared interview, he described the object as a mirror of consciousness. Not a transmitter, not a device, a mirror. It doesn't show us data, he explained. It reflects us back at ourselves. If you approach it with fear, it magnifies that fear. If you approach it with wonder, it becomes a doorway. And that raised the biggest question of all. What if the object wasn't built to challenge our intellect, but to reveal the state of our species? Not to ask what we know, but to ask who we've become. Not to measure intelligence, but to measure readiness. And if so, what is it preparing us for? While all attention was focused on the strange object off the coast of Florida, some international experts began to suspect that it might only be a part of a much larger system. A geophysicist from Stanford University, in an interview with Nature Geoscience on July 25, 2025, stated that the object's location matched the intersection of 3 major geomagnetic lines and also sat directly atop an ancient fault line stretching from the Florida Keys into the Atlantic Ocean. This is an area where natural magnetic fields oscillate unusually strongly but had never been fully studied before. Recently, global magnetic field changes, such as the shifting of magnetic poles and instability near the Arctic, may have contributed to the activation of some hidden mechanism. According to reports from the USGS and the International Oceanographic Research Agency, magnetic fields along oceanic boundaries have been steadily declining over the past 6 months. No one dares confirm a direct link to the Florida object, but the timing is too coincidental to ignore. At the same time, independent media uncovered the existence of a secret research project called Project Locus. According to an investigation by the Black Vault, this project had been supported by NATO since 2018, aiming to map out ancient energy points, places historically tied to unnatural activity that modern science has yet to explain. Data from Project Locus revealed at least 3 sites with phenomena similar to Florida's. One beneath the Baltic Sea near Estonia, another in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and one in Antarctica, buried under ice and snow for thousands of years. None of them show signs of seismic activity, yet all emit low-frequency signals nearly identical to those detected from the Florida object. Leaked infrared satellite images show that these sites are beginning to emit heat, even though there are no volcanoes, radioactive minerals, or any natural factors that could account for this phenomenon. This has led many to question, could this be a global network buried thousands of years ago? If true, how many more structures are silently lying beneath the earth and the ocean floor, waiting to be awakened? And could there be a form of communication between them that humanity has never realized? The most important question now is no longer what's happening in Florida, but what is about to happen to the entire planet? From blurry satellite images to redacted reports, everything seems to be pointing in the same direction. The object beneath the waters of Florida is unlike anything humanity has ever recorded. No nation has claimed responsibility. No official explanation has been released. But the reaction is loud and clear, from large-scale evacuations, military intervention, to the unusual silence from the media. Whether we call it a system, a device, or an entity, one thing is undeniable. It does not belong to our time. And if that's true, then the bigger question starts to emerge. What exactly has been awakened beneath the ocean? Why is it responding now, amid climate upheavals, geomagnetic shifts, and growing global chaos? Could this not be an intrusion, but a signal, a call, a reflection from an intelligence we've never known? Some scientists describe it as a global reaction from an inert structure, but others believe this isn't a lifeless object, but an intelligent life form, a being that can observe, that can respond, that has waited for the right moment to awaken something long asleep inside us, a primal memory, a survival instinct, or even a collective consciousness lost for thousands of years. If this is the first signal, then the real question is, when will the next one come, and how will we respond? The truth is, no one really knows where this object at the bottom of the ocean came from. And maybe it's that very uncertainty that makes people afraid. But instead of panicking or rushing to believe unproven conspiracy theories, perhaps the best thing we can do is keep a clear mind, trust science, rely on verified sources, and most importantly, learn to tell the difference between fact and sensationalism. Because the more we face the unknown, the more we need reason and faith in one another. Let's wait for the next findings from trusted institutions, from scientists working quietly to decode each wave, each strange signal rising from the ocean floor. Who knows? Maybe this object isn't a threat after all. Maybe it's an opportunity, a chance to understand more about the universe and about ourselves. A reminder that humanity has never stopped evolving, never stopped reaching beyond the known. And if you'd like to keep following the clues with mindgap, don't forget to hit subscribe. Because the truth, even when hidden, is always waiting to be uncovered. And this journey is only just beginning.